channels, I couldn't actually turn down the other one. So I'll talk a wee bit first of all about Victor Jara. Victor Jara was a folk singer from a place called Chile. And they elected a very left-wing social democratic government. And it began to nationalize a lot of the means of production, and this was total anathema, not only to the ruling class of Chile, but also to the Americans as well, because they feared that if the system was seen to be successful in Chile, it would spread to other countries, and they wanted to smash it. So the CIA, in cahoots with the British as well, assisted a bunch of right-wing militarists to overthrow that democratically elected government, and then they set about systematically exterminating everybody to the left of a line that they arbitrarily drew. And no one can really say how many hundreds of thousands of people were murdered in the coup that brought General Pinochet to power. When there was an opportunity to finally bring that bastard to justice, his supporters from back in 1979, including people like Margaret Thatcher, rallied to his defence and said he's just a poor old man. So he was able to pretend to be more ill than what he was and miraculously recover the minute he was back home in Chile. But amongst the people that he murdered was a folk singer called Victor Jara. And this is his story. The chorus is dead simple. It just goes, his hands were gentle and his hands were strong. Please join in. Of Chile, he looked like a shooting star, and he fought for the people of Chile with his songs and his guitar, and his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. That's the chorus, you want to try it? His hands were gentle, his hands were strong. Victor was a peasant. He worked from a few years old. He sat behind his father's plough, and he watched the earth unfold. And his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. If the neighbours had a wedding, or one of their children died, his mother would sing all night for them, with Victor by her side, and his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. And he grew to be a fighter against the people's wrongs, listened to their joy and grief, and he turned them into songs, and his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. He sang about the copper miners and those who worked the land. He sang for the factory workers, and they knew he was their man, for his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. Generals, they seized Shelley. They arrested Victor then. They caged him in the stadium with 3,000 frightened men. And his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. Victor stood up in the stadium, and his voice was brave and strong. He sang for his fellow prisoners until the guards cut short his song, and his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. They broke the bones in both of his hands. They beat his lovely head. They racked him with electric shocks after 3 long days of torture. They shot him dead, and his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. Now the generals, they ruled Chile, and the British have their thanks, for they rule with hawker hunters, and they rule with chieftain tanks, and his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. Of Chile, he lived like a shooting star, and he fought for the people of Chile with his songs and his guitar, and his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. His hands were gentle, his hands were strong, his hands were gentle, his hands were strong. This is a song called The Swaggies Have All Waltzed Matilda Away. And Swaggies are, their full name is Swagmen. In Australia, in the old days, you used to have these guys called Swaggies, who were itinerant workers. And they worked mainly in sheep shearing. And the sheep stations were hundreds of miles apart, and these guys used to travel on foot or on bicycles through the Australian bushland. And they had all the possessions wrapped up in a blanket that they called their swag. And their only other essential possession was what was called their black belly, which which was a pot. And it was black because it was put over the fire. With my raggedy old swag on my shoulder and my black billy pot in my hand, I tell you we'll astonish the new chums when they see how we travel this land. They used to travel all over, and the more romantic among them used to refer to their swag as Matilda. And if you were out on the Wallaby track, out going from sheep station to sheep station, the wallabies are like small kangaroos, and in the same way that if you're out in the countryside here, if you watch out for the goat tracks, they'll always take you safely. In the same way in Australia, you watch out for the wallaby tracks and they won't lead you astray. So if you're out on the wallaby track with your raggedy old swag on your shoulder and your black belly pot in your hand, you're said to be waltzing Matilda. So who'll come a waltzing Matilda with me means who'll come a carrying that swag with me. So that's who the swagmen were. And there are still swagmen of sorts to this day, but these days they drive in a four-wheel drive truck. But they still live the life. But I wrote this song in 1998. Which was Australia's bicentennial year, the celebration of white settlement in Australia. And for Aboriginal Australia, they called it Invasion Day. And I played in a band that had been working throughout '87, playing a series of concerts to raise money to bring Aboriginal elders, like this is like chiefs, bring Aboriginal elders from the Central Desert over to Sydney. They had never been in their lives before. They had never been to these big cities, you know. It was a brand new experience for them. But they were coming basically to blow a raspberry at the tall ships that were coming into Sydney Harbour. They were doing a reenactment of the invasion of Australia. And these boys wanted to be there just to let white Australia know what they thought of it. And we thought that was a good thing to do, so we helped to try to raise that money. And it was great on the day. We all marched down with the Aboriginal elders out in front, and we walked down to Circular Quay, and the tall ships were coming in, and everyone's waving Australian flags and singing Advance Australia Fair, and the Aboriginal just sort of stood there. Great, worth doing. A well-spent year. So it struck us as being peculiar when we got a phone call from the agency that had been hired to book the entertainment for the bicentennial celebrations, asking our band to participate in the celebration of the opening of an entertainment complex in Sydney called the Darling Harbour Entertainment Complex. The campaign against the Darling Harbour thing is again a different issue, but this was an area that could easily be restored to being a native bushland reserve, and instead they were turning it into a kind of McDonald's kind of concrete and glass extravaganza. So we were also campaigning against that as well. So to be asked to play at the opening of the Darling Harbour complex struck us as being kind of peculiar on all those counts. And we initially refused until they told us that we had to sign a contract if we did agree to play, to say that we wouldn't do, sing or say anything to upset the dignitaries assembled on that happy occasion. So this is basically the song we wrote to upset the dignitaries on the happy occasion. It's called The Swaggies of All Waltzed Matilda. Thanks a lot for listening, you've been great. Right at the end of the song is a reference to the Koori people. That's the name that Aboriginals from New South Wales used to describe themselves. I mean, they're not a single people, they're not Aboriginal people, that's what anthropologists actually call them. They're different nations. And in New South Wales, they're the Koori people. In Queensland, they're the Murray people. And in West Australia, they're the Nunga people. So when I sing about the Kooris, I'm talking about the Aboriginal people of New South Wales. games, outlaws and rebels with numbers for names, and on the triangle were beaten and maimed. Blood stained the soil of Australia. Dukies and duchesses, flash lads and whores, who worked their plantations and polished their floors, lived in their shadow and died in their wars. Blood stained the soil of Australia. Does it quicken your heartbeat to see tar and concrete cover the tracks on the old bullock dray? Have you grown so heartless to christen it progress when the Swaggies have all waltzed Matilda away? Like dogs from your own native home, hardship and poverty caused you to roam over the bracken and over the foam. Blood stained the soil of Australia. Then in the fever of fortune and fame, you caused the poor lads to suffer the same, imprisoned on missions or hunted for game. Blood stained the soil of Australia. Does it quicken your heartbeat to see tar and concrete cover the tracks on the old bullock dray? Have you grown so heartless to christen it progress when the Swaggies have all waltzed Matilda away? It's 200 years since you came to this land, betrayed by the girl with a black velvet band, and still to this day you don't understand. Blood stained the soil of Australia. Coolie and white, old Australian and new, brothers and sisters of every hue. The future is ours, take the wealth from the few, and raise the red flag in Australia. Let it quicken your heartbeat, the roads at your own feet. Travel it lightly and travel it well, and don't speak of success or christen it progress till the Swaggies can all waltz Matilda as well. And don't speak of success or christen it progress till the Swaggies can all waltz Matilda as well. Thank you all.
Freunde von Alistairs Musik, von Alistair. Ich möchte mich hier bedanken. Ich habe heute den Alistair kurzfristig eingeladen. Wir sind morgen bei Audi, 14.000 Kollegen, die ganze Fabrik steht jetzt in einem Streik und hat sich kurzfristig entschlossen, unsere Streikposten dazu unterstützen, ein paar Lieder zu singen und den Kampf von unseren Kollegen zu unterstützen.
Wunderbar! I look forward to it, yeah. Support the Audi strikers.
Ihr seid natürlich alle auch sehr herzlich eingeladen, mal vorbeizukommen und euch einzuweisen.
Wir haben nichts zu schaffen.
Der Streik, der geht den ganzen Tag, also wenn ihr Schichten schafft oder sonst, könnt ihr immer mal vorbeikommen. Ab 5 Uhr geht's los, bis abends um 23 Uhr.